never too high, never too low, but I think more than anything, we're just trying to really establish what those standards look like and how we're going to do things. And not that you didn't say that you were going to do that last year, but I think it's just a little bit more of an emphasis and a focus on what all those standards look like. We're trying to, discipline might be one of the number ones. As we really kind of reevaluate last year, we're 67th in the country in penalties, which for us is nowhere near where we need to be. And those are little areas where I think more than anything we got to put a real emphasis on. And different things mean different, but discipline in particular. I mean, everything we did from handing the ball to the official when the tempo sets to not retaliating when things happen in camp out there today. As well as being able to stay in no pads out there today, up on your feet and not thudding things up. There's a lot of little things right there that, to me, we're really attacking by here day one. Energy's great. I think the excitement and their preparation is really, really good. The ability nowadays to have some of those OTAs and to spend some more time football-wise coming into camp, not only give the older guys but even the younger guys an opportunity to kind of hit the ground running. So, really good first day. Now we got a couple of challenging ourselves mentally to be able to use this entire time out here. That's why we're out here. I say 24 hours of football. Some of them brought their gaming systems. As long as they're playing football in the gaming system, I say I'm all right with that. As long as they're getting 7 hours of sleep, I'm all right with that. Everything else is football.
It's a little tough sometimes going like offense, defense. If the defense makes a play, putting the ball, and the offense is the one that puts the ball on the ground.
It is, but I think that's where we have to understand that our greatest challenge has got to be within our own program. The whole idea of hunt or be hunted. We've got to understand that there's a lot of hunting going on within this own program. And that's what it is, right? It's us challenging each other to make each other better. It should be toughest for me, right? You can be excited about them punching the ball out, then you can be really gut hurt because why is the ball on the ground? But I think it's an emphasis on both sides of how we do things. We got to be able to do them together, and that's going to do nothing but make us better.
Talk about discipline. There was a point it looked like where you kind of called the guys were on the field, you kind of called everybody off, and it looked like you wanted to start over again.
Yep.
Is that kind of one of the points?
Yeah,
there?
it's a point of emphasis, and for me in particular, being able to really establish what those standards are going to be, right? I mean, there's an idea of that's a period where we're trying to play faster, and if we just kind of allow, it's day one, we're gonna let them work through some of these things. That's not, that's not what we're going to do now. Not that we have did that in the past, but really trying to make sure we understand establish what that standard looks like, and if it's a period where we're going to go fast, we got to make sure we're disciplined enough to understand what that means as an offense. Right? There is no celebration, there is no retaliation. Obviously, there's no retaliation anyway. But there's hand the ball to the official, and there's a demeanor about how we got to do things. And even on day one, it's got to be established.
With new opponents this year, is there a lot of new terminology and a lot of new formations to learn?
No, I just think that all of that is a part of what you're doing. I don't know that it puts something new on your plate. The first 3 weeks of camp has got to be focused on ourselves anyway, to figure out who we are and where we are. But there are things here later in the day, our second practices, our walkthroughs, where you're aware of what the whole schedule looks like. And the thing about camp is you got to understand what you're going to see from your offense and your defense. Is not what you're going to see all year. So there is some things that you have to be able to do and prepare for. Good news for us defensively, we don't have a triple option team. I've been in camps before where we have triple option, and every third night you're spending a lot of time working on the option. But it gives us opportunities to make sure we know what the whole season looks like. In these 32 days, we got to be prepared. Not saying we're prepared to play the last third of the schedule, but we're prepared in making sure we understand, as an offense and defense, what we have down the road and what we've got to make sure we've seen and not surprised by the last third of the season.
It seemed like Justin Taylor was making 2 plays today, and he's a guy that's kind of been in that mix where he's got multiple defensive back positions. Where do you see him fitting maybe best right now in his career?
I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting, right? I mean, he's at safety. He got a lot of reps in the spring. We had some injuries in the spring. We had, obviously Preston was out and Moy was out. And there's times we, held Hunter on some situations, so he got an incredible amount of reps in the spring. He took advantage of that, and now he's trying to take to the next level here. I think the thing about that back end, especially the safety position, you've got to have some versatility, man. You've got to understand the whole system. You got to be able to play boundary. You got to be able to play field. You got to be able to play nickel. And the guys that can handle that sooner, like Justin, he'll have greater opportunities to get on the field and have a chance to make some plays.
It was a hot and humid practice out there. How do you like that for day one?
It's only 83. I don't know what hot and humid is to everybody. It is a little thick, and we needed that. Coach Brady promised me it was going to be 90s this week, and I thought that was going to be something that was going to be good for us. And we actually walked out here, and there was a haze over top of the field. It was. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but again, I think that we prayed on this. We prayed on this in the summer-wise. The difference is you work out in the summer. It's an hour and 15 minutes, right? You go out there, you run the stadium. It's a 10, 12-minute shot, 7-minute shot. You know, you're in great shape, but you understand what 2.5 hours on the field looks like. And it's not 2.5 hours of practice. I mean, the first 30 is, you know, meetings on the field of some sorts, but the mental, you know, the drain, the thing, what it does on your body too, as well as the 2 hours. You know, you saw it take a little bit of a toll there, but that's a part of training what we're doing.
In general, with defensive, you know, was this more kind of a defensive day?
Hey! I've never seen a stretch go that difficult.
But in terms of setting the tone, did it seem like it was maybe more of the defense's day-to-day?
I
How would
don't
you
know. I
characterize
mean, there's both. I mean, I think that you know, there's an emphasis on both sides of the ball, right? I mean, I think early on, you know, especially when you're not in pads, it's really hard to establish the stuff up front, right? And we're trying to be smart about what we're doing, but making sure that, you know, we're not creating any bad habits. So the one thing that jumps out to you defensively, that they knocked a few balls on the ground, and I think that is a great sign defensively, since we only caused 4 fumbles last year, and I think we may have legitimately caused, you know, 4 or 5 fumbles in practice today. It's a great thing. It is a little bit alarming, you know, offensively, since we had 12 fumbles last year. That is an area that we've got to do a lot better. So, you know, those are the things maybe that jump out at you, that you recognize from the defense a little more.
Luke, I know it's just day one of camp. Through today, through some of the workouts, what's kind of stood out a little bit about Brandon Lane and just kind of excites you guys about some of his abilities?
It starts with maturity, right? I mean, he's been through some ups and downs. He's, you know, in his 4th year of college. Those guys that have been through that, regardless of where they've been, they've had to battle through some experiences. So that gives him a greater opportunity as we get this thing rolling. You know, you hadn't really seen him. You've done some walkthroughs and things like that, but you come out today, he shows up that he understands what we're doing and allows him to play a little bit faster. It's all going to be consistency. I think that's probably going to be the big thing for most of those guys up front. Him in particular, just because he's new, understanding what the expectations are like. But he's definitely a bigger-bodied guy that's been through a lot. That I'm hoping and believing that he can provide something. You know, how much we'll see.
Say what you talked about the video game systems. What were players allowed to bring, and or not to bring?
Yeah.
You know, to focus on football.
We don't put a whole lot of emphasis on it, right? I mean, there's a part of this that you know, that you got to be able to clear your mind a little bit too. So we mandated that everybody brings a book, and if they're going to spend. I gave a book this summer. They asked about it. Hey, coach, is this thing on tape too? It's 112 pages. I mean, if we want to do sessions where we read to each other, we can do that. But everybody's got to create their own routine, and you know, for us more than anything, that you know, coaches, you know, kind of have those conversations with guys, and if we're disciplined about what we're doing, maybe that's a way a guy does relax. There's going to be a lot of football here. To me, that's the most important thing.
And
there's other little things that give them a chance. They don't have a whole lot of free time. They're going to get 7 hours of sleep. You know, they may have 20 minutes as they go back. They're going to get a nap. They may have 10 minutes. You know, but it's about how you use it. But I believe we got enough maturity to not think we're going to go check everybody's room and worry about what they're doing. It's pretty obvious as you walk on the field who's locked in, who's prepared, who's hungry.
you know,
Roommates came up yesterday. Is that, do you spend a whole lot of time deciding who goes with who? Is that important to you?
It is. I think we tried to manufacture it last year. I really wanted those guys to have a chance to pick, but I also put it on the coaches to say, hey, you need to communicate with your guys. If there's somebody that you truly want to be able to room with somebody to make sure that they're helping each other, we've got to be able to do that too. So there's a balance there, but it's more so a little bit. Well, last year I think we kind of did it ourselves, and you know, as I look back at it, I'm not sure that's the best thing for us. But the coaches know them better, and I know there's a few situations where we ask guys to room with certain guys just to be kind of that big brother and make sure that they can, you know, help them through some of these times, because it's tough for everybody. I don't care whether you're, you know, Jack Nelson, who's in his 5th one of these, or Will Pauling, who's been in different places and has played a lot of ball. They're still difficult and different ways, and we need those guys to go help each other.
I know he's a little
Kind of
limited.
a bigger picture college football question for you here. Like, potentially everybody's going to be on scholarship in the future. What do you think changes without having that walk-on with all your experience?
As I said, we're not going to have that walk. There's a way. I can't promise, but I can pretty much tell you that we're not going to lose some of the historic things that we've had here. I don't know exactly what that means just yet and how that's going to work. But I know this, that there's an incredible history of that, and we've got our ways. And I would just tell people to have confidence that it's going to be different. It's going to look different. Whatever the limit and whatever the number is. But it's been such a, let's just say it's been, so historic here. But it's been a great way that's helped us, from what I understand, has helped us grow the program, create the culture of certain things, and we're not going to lose that. That's already been something that's been thought about and talked about. And we're just waiting to see exactly what these parameters are before we spend too much time establishing exactly what it is we're going to do. It's going to look different, but we're still doing it.
I know he's a little limited in spring. Tucker Ashcraft had some nice plays out here. What do you see for him in year 2?
Well, he's not going to put the ball on the ground like he did. I think his roommate punched it out there at the end of practice. He's got the balance to be able to do that, and I think that's probably what, more than anything, we're looking for. Riley Nowakowski's the leader of that group, and he's done a great job, and he's got some balance to be able to do both. But I think Tucker's got a really high end. Those guys obviously got to stay healthy because that really kind of hurt us last year with those guys, even in camp. But it gives us some flexibility to be able to do some different things offensively, to create some matchups. But guys that are physical enough to make sure that they can establish, first and foremost, the line of scrimmage and be an extension to that offensive line, which has got to be a real big thing for us.
Did you sleep last night? What was your level of excitement?
I don't have a problem falling asleep. It's just when 3:30 rolls around, and I'm not going to complain about the bed because we're all sleeping in the same beds, but it makes it a little bit easier to go ahead and get up and get your day going a lot earlier. It is. But that'll be like that all the time. Being out here, we got to try to take advantage of every moment that we got out here in many different ways.
So we're talking about the roommates, about the certain players maybe taking others. Are there certain examples of the upperclassmen?
No, I don't know if I want to point. I know that we've asked Will Pauling maybe to have a roommate that said, "Hey, we need you to room with somebody," and the guys that understand what we're trying to do and how we need to be able to help each other. They're all in, and that's the beautiful thing about what we got. There's not many things we've asked our guys to do that they, haven't been all in for doing. Obviously, there's habits we all have to be able to change and grow as we get out here. I know this, that they're willing to do whatever they need to do to help each other, the people that are around them.